Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all the boys and girls at Potomac View Elementary School who are watching this social studies video. Today we're going to dive back into the studies of our ancient Greece civilization. So we need to think back in time, not just a year ago, not 10 years ago, not 100 years ago, but we need to go back 2,000 years in history. And we're going to learn a little bit more about ancient Greece. All right, boys and girls, I went to Epic and I searched ancient Greece. When you want to learn more about a topic, a great strategy is just going to check on Epic and seeing if you can find some interesting books. There are tons of books here about ancient Greece. There's true facts, and there's some really good fiction stories too based on what the ancient Greeks believed. When we're done with this lesson, it'd be a great idea to go check out some of these other books. Now on your Epic account, you're going to find a book that is assigned to you called Ancient Greece, Tools and Treasures of Ancient Greece. When we're done with this lesson, make sure that you go back and finish the rest of the story. It's going to be on your choice board this week, so make sure you go check out this book, Tools and Treasures of Ancient Greece. Alrighty, I opened up the book and I see that there's a table of contents here, so let's take a little preview. We have Chapter 1, the Ancient Greeks. Chapter 2, Daily Life. Thinking about the title, do you think that's going to be about your daily life in America, or daily life in ancient Greece? Probably daily life in ancient Greece. The culture of ancient Greece. So the culture is like the food people eat, the way they celebrate, what kind of religion, that's all a part of their culture, their language. And the last chapter, the fall of ancient Greece. So let's dive right in. Chapter 1, the ancient Greeks. More than 2,500 years ago, ancient Greece was becoming a great civilization. And we know from class that a civilization is just a large group of people with the same culture, the same beliefs, the same day-to-day life, all in the same government. So becoming a great civilization. The ancient Greeks had gifted artists, deadly warriors, and great thinkers. They also had an unusual government. It was the world's first real democracy. In a democracy, free people get to vote on their leaders and many of their laws. Ancient Greece changed the world. It shaped many of the cultures that followed it. The Greeks left behind all sorts of useful tools and amazing treasure. All right, can I go to the next page yet? No, I can't. There's a lot of great text features on this page I want to look at first. So over here, I see this really interesting picture. And I see some of those columns, a building with columns like we learned about in class. Let's read to see what it's about. Athens is the capital city of modern-day Greece. Ancient Athens was the birthplace of democracy. What is a democracy? Okay, boys and girls, before we finish this video, I want you to make sure that you have paper and a pencil or something to write with you. If you don't have anything to write with or somewhere to write on, I want you to pause this video and go grab yourself something to write with. Okay, so if you have that pencil and paper or that pen or that marker, I've got a question for you, a challenge. Based on what we read here in page 4, I want you to answer this question. What is a democracy? So let's start that sentence with a complete sentence for that answer. So what I'd like you to write on your paper is, a democracy is. What can you do if you don't know how to spell democracy? That's right, check in the book. So a democracy is, use what you see here in the book to answer that question and write it down. When you're done writing, press play and keep enjoying the video. Over here, beautiful art is just one of many treasures to come from ancient Greece. And I see this pottery, and I know that we did a lot of pottery in our classes. We talked about how they used it to tell stories, how they used pottery for trading, and for storing things like olive oil. Rugged land. Ancient Greece was in southeastern Europe. It sat on the tip of the Balkan Peninsula. This part of Europe sticks out into the Mediterranean Sea. The land is rough and covered with mountains. Okay, that rough land, all those mountains, all those rocks, is that gonna be a good land for planting lots of different crops? It might be tricky. Greece was made up of many city-states. Each city-state had its own leaders and laws. Two of the largest city-states were Athens and Sparta. I'm getting a connection to that because when I read about city-states, that reminded me of states, like in the United States. It said that each city-state has its own leaders, and our states have governors. And it said they had their own laws. And I know that some states have different laws from each other. So I'm gonna infer or draw a conclusion that city-states are probably very similar to the states we have today. I wonder if because they're called city-states, if they're maybe a little bit smaller, like maybe they're the size of a city. Something to think about. Let's check out this text feature. This caption tells me more about this photo of that rocky land. Greece's rocky land once made farming and traveling difficult. All right, boys and girls, I want you to think back. Here's my challenge for you, third graders. What do you remember from our time in school? It was hard to plant in ancient Greece, but there was two crops that they had a lot of in Greece. What two crops were the most common or most grown in Greece? What two crops did they grow in Greece? Take that pencil and paper and start writing your answer. The two crops in Greece were, see what you remember. When you're done with this video, make sure you send a picture to your teacher to find out if you remembered correctly. And over here, it says these ruins were once a large theater in Sparta. Wow, can you imagine? I know that this looks broken down now, but at one time that was a really big theater. Just like we go to theaters to watch shows and movies, they had theaters too. So you gotta really use your imagination when you're looking at those rooms. Oh, what an interesting picture. I see it. These guys are dressed kind of like how we dress today. So I'm curious if this is an old picture or this is probably a picture from today. Oh, look at this ship. Does that look like a new ship or does that look like it's old? Let's read and find out a little bit more. Early in Greek history, people rarely visited other city-states. Traveling on foot or horseback was hard. But Greece was surrounded on three sides by water. What do we call a landform that is surrounded by water on all three sides? Do you remember? It's called a peninsula. Many Greeks were expert sailors and traveled by sea. I remember that we learned that. If they've got all these ships, I also remember that some of them were sailors, but who was going to make those boats? So there also were a lot of shipbuilders in ancient Greece and fishermen. These people are restoring an ancient Greek trading ship, so it will look new again. Restoring. I hear that prefix re, and that means again, right? Now, it doesn't mean storing again necessarily, but it's to make something new again. If you restore something, you bring it back to life and make it just as good as it was before. So they found this ancient ship and they're going to restore it. They're going to fix it so it's just like it was when it was brand new. What a cool job that would be. We can't forget our map. Ancient Greece, Europe. And then down here, it shows ancient Greece in the green. You can look at all the names of the different city-states. Here's our Mediterranean Sea. And here's some newer seas that we didn't talk about very much. Around 500 BCE. So that was like 3,000 years ago. Persia, which is another great civilization, Persia tried to take over Greece. The city-states joined together to defend themselves. They held back the Persian army. The city-states also formed a common culture. That's how the golden age of ancient Greece began. And here's this really exciting photo. I see all these soldiers. I see little battleships, and it says here, the Greeks defeated the Persians in the Battle of the Salamis in 480 BC. This painting from the 1900s shows the battle. Ooh, wow. So the Greeks defeated the Persians, and it says here that all the city-states, they joined together. So all those different states, like we talked about, they worked together like a team. And I'm really curious about this last sentence. It says, that's how the golden age of ancient Greece began. So do you think, what do you infer? Do you think the golden age was a really bad time for ancient Greece? Do you think it was a boring time for Greece? Or do you think it was like a really great, wonderful time for ancient Greece? It says here that when they worked together and formed a culture, that then the golden age began. I want you, for your last thing to write on that paper, I want you to write down, what do you infer the golden age was like? What does the author mean by the golden age? Was it a great time, a bad time, a boring time, smelly time? Based on what you can read in this paragraph, what can you infer a golden age is like? And think about that word golden, right? I see that word gold in there. So when we hear gold, is that usually a good thing or a bad thing? Use all those clues, what you already know about gold and what you read about in this paragraph that happened to ancient Greece, and write down what you think the author means by a golden age for ancient Greece. Alrighty. When you're done writing, your first job is make sure that you send a picture to your teacher of all your hard work. They want to see if you guessed the correct two crops for ancient Greece. Were you able to tell us what democracy is? And could you write down that inference about the golden age in ancient Greece? Send a picture of that to your teacher. The next job on your choice board is to finish this story. It's an amazing book and it's got such interesting facts about ancient Greece. So chapter 2 is about daily life in ancient Greece. I'm gonna do a little picture walk with you. Some really cool stuff in here. Got some more of that pottery. Ooh, look at this alphabet. I want to learn more about that alphabet. Okay, some interesting statues and paintings. Oh, and look at those columns. We know a lot about those columns. The culture of ancient Greece. This is going to be about some of their religions. This part's really interesting, and we didn't get to learn a lot about that. Got that architecture, sports, and the fall of ancient Greece. Oof. I feel like that's going to be a little different than the golden age, but you'll have to tell me after you finish reading. So your next job is to go onto Epic, find this book, and finish reading the story on your own. When you are done reading, make sure you're reading carefully, because after you're done reading, your teacher wants you to come down here and click Start the Quiz. There is a quick quiz about what you read. So job number 1 is read the story. Job number 2 is take that quiz. Make sure you do your very best because your teacher is going to look to see how you did. And job number 3 is a fun little chance to get onto Wixie. So check out in task number 3, the directions how to get to Wixie, and look for a fun ancient Greece assignment. Thanks for joining me this morning, this afternoon, this evening for a fun ancient Greece lesson. And I can't wait to learn more about ancient Greece next week. Have a great week.